Mary Drexlin, I think I pronounced that correctly. Hi, this is Mary from Michigan. From what I've read here, the husband murdered her and put her body in an ammonia-based fertilizer tank. He welded the tank shut and painted over the opening of the tank. Mary, we thank you for that, but we have discussed that, and what we're discussing now is when did he do it? Did he do this right around the time which she went missing? I think that would have made more sense than doing it later on. Doug Ross from the chat. I'm in oil patch, deal with tanks all the time. No hatch on chemical tanks, too dangerous. Hoses screwed on, filled by pressure. Some like propane tanks, kind of the same style, but liquid in one, pressure in another. Doug, thank you for all this technical information, which I have no idea about. I'm not technically minded, but thank you so much. I want to play this from News Nation. We'll put this up on the screen. If I can get it up on the screen. Here we go. Okay.
Disappeared in April of 2021, leaving behind her children, her grandchildren, and a lot of questions. The 52-year-old was last seen at her home near Tipton, Michigan, about an hour west of Detroit. Correspondent Sloan Glass joining us tonight. Investigators say that this case is far from cold. In fact, they have now formed a new task force to investigate. Do they have any new leads? Well, Marnie.
So obviously, folks, this was before today's or tonight's news that they have what they believe to be the body of Dee Warner.
Just today, we spoke with the sheriff just a few hours ago. He said the task force continues to get tips and they, quote, work on this case every day, all in hopes of getting answers to what really happened to Dee Warner.
My mom was a very outgoing, fun, life of the party type person. We were her world. Her kids were everything to her and her grandkids.
Dee Warner, 52 years old, with 4 grown children and another daughter from her second marriage to Dale Warner. She vanished April 24, 2021. Signs serve as a reminder around Lenawee County, Michigan, as well as this giant billboard. But Dee Warner's daughter says her mom and stepfather had been fighting a lot about their farm and trucking business. And on the night Dee disappeared,
I knew that they were fighting Saturday, and I knew it was going to escalate Saturday night. She told me that she wanted a divorce and she wanted to leave and she wanted to sell her trucking company and be done.
She made arrangements for her 9-year-old to stay with a friend. She says Dale admitted they fought, but said they had smoothed things over.
And he said that Saturday night, she ended up letting him rub her back and she fell asleep on the ground and he picked her up and put her on the couch. I just knew that she wouldn't have calmed down enough to let him rub her back.
There may have been an argument of some sorts. It was nothing out of the ordinary.
Larry Lieb represents Dale Warner, who police have labeled a person of interest.
Dale Warner has been open. He's been talked to by the FBI, the state police, the sheriff's department multiple times. He visited all of his properties, his home, his office, his barns. They've even gone out into the fields with Sonic.
Lieb says Dale is innocent, and they've turned over data from his Apple Watch to prove it.
The biomechanics showed that he had no elevated heart rate, no elevated breathing, and the GPS showed that he was where he said he was, which was at home.
Lieb and Dale have an alternate theory and say this note, written by Dee and found in her nightstand, shows she was thinking about leaving. I know I have to make a change, it says. I don't know what direction it will be in, but I do know that if I don't soon, then I will wreck myself. I really want to love life again, smile again, feel love again.
He believes she always talked about going to Mexico or going to Jamaica, and he thinks that she decided to go where she would be comfortable and not be found.
He says they found records that show Dee was preparing for a while.
Dee ran the businesses. She diverted money to various accounts. She had an off-book bank account in which money was transferred to cash. We believe that she planned on leaving She didn't tell anybody.
Dee's family marked the 1-year anniversary of her disappearance with a vigil in April. Bach is adamant her mother would never have left or stayed away so long.
I know that if my mom was still alive, she would have contacted one of us. She would have never left my little sister with him, ever.
The sheriff told us that investigators have searched several properties in connection with this case, more than 1,000 acres overall. They continue to follow up on leads, and he says they won't stop until they get resolution for Dee Warner's family.
The family fearing that she is no longer alive. Sloan, thank you. If you have any information on Dee Warner, what happened leading up to...
So obviously this was before today's news that they found her body. So Mike, interesting in a way because, well, very interesting that she was planning on leaving him and she was setting up another bank account. She had written to people. She had told people she was, again, I don't want to harp on it, but she was having an affair. He probably found out about that. And the fact that she disappeared and she had a 9-year-old daughter, her grown children said she would have never left and run away and leave that little girl with Dale. She just loved that little girl so much. So these are all indicators that something fugazi, as we say in New York City, happened here. And the attorney going up on the screen and saying, oh, he's cooperating. This is not the typical homicide investigation because A, it started out as a missing person. B, it's a husband and wife. C, they didn't find the body till just very recently. And the missing part of this took place several years ago, over 3 years ago. So they had to gingerly handle this investigation as a missing person till there were indicators that it was not. There was something quite egregious in regards to this case. Mike?
Yeah, occasionally you'll hear of a woman leaving her children, but that's really, really rare. It's almost never that you hear of a woman leaving her children. A husband leaving his children, maybe setting out on his own, but any time that a mom just leaves the children, A, and B, disappears off the grid completely, never contacts any family members to let anyone know where she is, months later, years later, absolutely, she's passed away. She's no longer alive. I mean, it's crazy for him to keep saying, oh, yeah, she's probably, but he had nothing else to say. Oh, yeah, she's done this in the past where she's disappeared. And, here's the note that I found, that sort of thing. Yeah, the police, as you say very well, thank you for saying that, they were handling this very gently. They probably knew after maybe 30 days that this was absolutely a homicide and he was suspect number one, person of interest number one. But like you say, they have to handle this as a missing persons report rather than a homicide report, because this way you can talk to him and the way you approach him is very, very different. You don't want to tip off what you think about what his involvement may be. So the police did an amazing job. These things take a while. We've seen this in other cases. 6 weeks for the Koberger case. We only had like 4 days, 5 days. In the case in Florida with Miss